Hello and welcome to week 9 of my wildlife year. I'm starting off with a bit of an advert for a workshop that I've organised online. It's a Zoom workshop, introduction to British small mammals, and it's happening 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. on Monday the 15th of March, and it costs £10. We'll be covering shrew ID, mouse ID, vole ID, except for water vole, because that's a whole workshop in its own, small mammal trapping, sexing of small mammals, moles, hedgehogs, hedgehog tunnels, camera trapping, and also some book recommendations. The workshop will be approximately an hour long pre-recorded video, during which participants can actually text me questions and I'll text back answers, or I'll cover them in the half-hour Q&A session after the video. So I'm trying to make it as interactive as possible and that you can ask questions even when the video is ongoing. So if you're interested, go to Eventbrite and look up Introduction to British Small Mammals, and it should take you to the tickets. So they're £10 each, as I said. So already had 1 or 2 bookings, hopefully have a few more. So let's get on with my wildlife year, week 9. I was out last weekend with my wife and Dexter, having a little walk, and I saw my first bee. I got very excited. It was a honeybee on some snowdrops, and it was flying around, and I thought, I've got to get this on camera. So you might wonder why I'm taking photos of it rather than recording a bit to video. Well, the reason for that is I did attempt this, but I was so excited, obviously never pressed play and record when I tried to record my bit, and I ended up pressing record after I'd recorded the bit on camera and then walked off. So here's what I actually recorded. Not my finest hour. Just out with my bat detector again. It's a nice night. Wee bit of cloud cover, which is good because that will keep the temperature up a wee bit. Because if it gets too cold, there's no insects out, so there's no point in the bats coming out. So hopefully it's going to still a wee bit mild. It's probably about, I reckon about 7 or 8 degrees at the minute. So I'm hoping there might be some bats around. There's a bat. I was actually, believe it or not, wasn't going to talk about bats here. I was actually going to talk about the rookery hidden tree here, and literally just as I started recording, my first bat of the evening flew over. So anyway, hopefully it'll be back in a second. I was just going to say, the trees round here, I'm in the local cemetery, and the trees round here have a few rooks in them. Some are just roosting like in that tree in the middle there, but some are actually in their nests. So there's some nests around here. So we've got a wee rookery. Oops, that's what happens when you look up all the time. You don't look where you're walking. So this is actually, there's just a few nests around here. It's quite a small rookery. There's a much bigger one on the other side of the village. Oh, there's some back there. It's a Soprano Pipistrelle. Got my, there it is. And it's a Soprano Pipistrelle because it's very nice and loud and clear at 55 kilohertz. So that's its peak frequency. At 45 kilohertz you'll still hear it, but it'll be very high pitched and sort of tinny. And that tells me that this, because it's at 55 peak,
It's a Soprano Pipistrelle, and I think there's actually two here possibly. Now, Soprano pipistrelles are actually our most common pipistrelle bat. The common pipistrelle, or the one that's peak frequency 45, is actually not our most common in Scotland. Its name, the problem with calling things common is sometimes they're actually not the most common. Yes, there is at least two here. There's the Soprano Pipistrelle this far north. The majority, about 75% of the Pipistrelle bats are Sopranos and 25% are common. There is also an enthusiast Pipistrelle, and it's quite rare, so it means only about 1% of them, so we just kind of ignoring that. But if you go further south, it kind of flips over, and the common is the most common, and about 75% of them are common and 25% are Soprano. In fact, if you actually go into mainland Europe, even further south, sort of France, Belgium way, Soprano Pipistrelles are actually quite rare. I've had some come in a bat walk, I think they were from the Netherlands if I remember right, and they were actually there just to see Soprano Pipistrelles, which is our most common bat in the UK, so in Scotland, because they didn't see them in the Netherlands that much, and they're quite rare. So that one there is just dived there, and I think there was a wee buzz, so that was its feeding buzz. So putting on quite a nice display here. I've never actually really come to the cemetery before to do any batting, and this is, oh, that one came within a couple of feet of me there. So I'm really pleased that the bats are out. It's a sign that spring is definitely on the way. Now the noise they're making is the echolocation. They can't hear the noise that's coming off the bat detector. The noise that we are hearing is their call brought down to a frequency that we can actually hear at. So they can't hear what's coming out the bat detector. Their calls are over a wide range, but they've got a peak frequency, and this is how we can tell different species, because they've got different peak frequencies, and some of them have different calls. So the Myotis bats, which include the Bentons and the Natterers and the Brants and Whiskered, they've got a completely different call as well to the Pipistrelles, and then others like Noctule have got even more of a different call. So I'm just about to finish talking, mainly because I want to put my arm down because it's starting to get a bit sore keeping my phone up all the time. So I'll just take a wee wander and hopefully see some more bats. I've come to this bridge over the Teviot because it's usually got a few Soprano Pipistrelles kicking about late in the after dusk. Sometimes there's the Bentons in the river as well. I'm not sure whether the Bentons will be out of hibernation quite yet, although the Pips certainly seem to be. So right before I started recording this bit, there was a couple of Pipistrelles kicking about, and they seem to have disappeared on me. Hopefully they'll turn back up again before too long. Just seeing if there's any behind me, not in front of me. Oh, right there, there's something. Oh, that was certainly a Soprano Pipistrelle. I never saw it. Maybe I just never caught it myself, and it will have actually been caught in the camera. But Pipistrelles like habitat edges, and will also often fly against tree lines or against walls and buildings and that. Part of the reason for that is actually it's harder to see them. It's a bit of a defence mechanism. Another reason is quite often that's where the insects that they're preying on are, especially with big stone structures like this. They'll capture any heat during the day, and then as the sun goes down, they'll start to give that heat back out. So if there's any insects and invertebrates in the wing in the area, they're going to be around the stone structures, because that's where the heat is, and insects being cold-blooded like heat, so they often do that. The other thing is when I'm out doing bat walks, I like to try, if possible, if it's a small enough crowd. If there's a big crowd, they'll just all mill about and that, but if it's a small enough crowd, I like to try and keep them all together, and the reason for that is all the bodies together give off a lot more heat, and basically we've got a nice bit of heat above our heads. The insects come in, and then the bats come in a bit closer to feeding the insects, and that's always good. Right, those loud clicks that you can hear are actually social calls. I've turned my bat detector down to 20. Oops, they're actually coming quite close to me. I'm not sure whether you can actually even see this in this light. You might be able to. They're flying right by me, just a foot or two away. Those loud clicks are social calls, so they make them when there's more than one bat around, just to talk to each other. Are they saying there's food down there's someone standing there producing lots of heat and there's lots of insects around them. But if I turn back up, have they gone as I've turned back up? I think I have. Not, here they come. That's it, really nice and loud at 55. And that's me turned it to 45, and hear how it went high pitched and a bit tinny. It's now disappeared again. 45 is peak frequency for the common pipistrelle. They were actually only split into two separate species in the 90s, and if I remember right, I think it was just in this century that the Soprano Pipistrelle got its Latin name of Pipistrellus pygmaeus. It's called Pipistrellus pygmaeus because it's just slightly smaller than the common, and they're flying right through. I wish I had actually a stronger torch. I've only got my phone torch on, but they are flying right through. I'm now trying to see whether I can get I've got a second phone with me. I'm now trying to see whether I can double up and torch. Sitting flying back and forth at this point. I don't know what's attracting them, whether it's me or whether it's there's an insect supply around here, something growing that's got lots of insects in it. I do have a wooden building behind me, so maybe there's some insects living in there. Oh. It's certainly coming quite close to me, so maybe it's me that's attracting the insects. And there's something moving around my feet as well. I assume it's a wood mouse or something like that. But this is, I'm going to have to come out here another night with a bigger torch and see if I can get some decent video of them. But I'm heading back in now. I'm out doing some field work today, and I've already said in the past that moles are really easy to survey for because they leave obvious traces behind, and there we go, some molehills, so that'll be good in my report. Just out a walk with my wife in Dexter, and I've just seen a couple of dippers. I don't know whether you'll be able to see them. They're over sort of like there. I'm going to go and see. I'll be able to get them in the camera. I'm not sure if I will. Let's go and see. Right. I can only see one now. Just in that, right in the centre of the picture, you can see a dipper. It's quite dressed in the rock. Just turned it back to me. Dexter, don't trip me up. In fact, actually, both the dippers are there now. Yeah. Right in the centre, two rocks, there's a pair of dippers. They're lovely birds. It's amazing. I know people that say they've never seen a dipper in their life, yet in the Tweed catchment they're pretty common. Really, you know, and if you go out looking along the river, there's a good chance you'll see a dipper. The Teviot is just over that rise there, and this field regularly floods, so you can see down there that there's some molehills, but because this has actually been flooded recently, the moles have had to sort of come away from the river to make sure they don't, and they've had to also, because the water's so waterlogged, when they come back they've had to actually stay close to the surface. So we've got quite a lot of evidence of moles digging close to the surface. So we've got holes going down, but we've also got tunnels just along the top of the ground. Same over here, and there's a fresh molehill there. So there's some more digging just here as well. So if you actually go in a recently flooded field, have a look out for mole signs, because quite often they'll have come to the top to escape the flood water, and when they come back the area is so wet that they stick near to the top until it's dried out a bit.
I was out with a walk with my daughter and spotted some badger prints. Unfortunately, my camera was just out of charge, but she took a photo of the badger prints, which I'm really pleased about because they actually show quite nicely the length of those claws. I'm having to re-record this bit because the wind was blowing so much you couldn't hear what I was saying. So earlier I was under the Teviot, the bridge over the Teviot, and there was some sandy soil from recent flooding, and I could spot some small cat prints. I've seen a small cat down there, so I suspect that's the one that's left it, but I also found some prints with claws, so I knew they weren't cats. These ones here are a bit indistinct, but this one here and this one here, it's a lot clearer. And you can see a small pad at the back with just not much bigger than 4 toe pads, and you can actually almost imagine you can make a cross across it, and it's actually quite narrow, and the 2 front pads are further forward than the other 2 pads at the back, so you can actually draw a line across without touching them. So that means it's fox. Right, I'm down the floor in the dining room because I saw something tucked away in the corner, and I've had a wee look and I've pulled it out and I'll show you what it is. Yeah, what I found is this dead motor beetle just in there, and I've teased it out. It's dead, but it's still in one piece, so I'm able to tell what it is. So let's go in for a closer look. I'll pop on my magnifier on my phone. Only about 5mm long. It's a 2-spot carpet beetle, often found in houses and other buildings, especially if they've got a wool carpet. Also you'll find them in clothing, and also out in the wild in birds' nests, anywhere where there's any sort of wool that the larvae can feed on. So this is
either arrived, this is a relatively new carpet, either arrived or the larvae have arrived in the carpet, or it's come in the window, because this is actually quite close to the dining room window, so I'll keep an eye out for more. But if you ever see any little beetles on the carpet, at 5 millimetres long, have a close look at them, and if you've got two little dots in the wing cases like this, you know it's a 2-spot carpet beetle. I'm just going to get it, keep a specimen in there. I'm just checking. I thought I saw some movement there, but no, I think it is actually dead. Yeah, that's dead. Right, welcome to a section where I'm just highlighting a bit of equipment I use. You may have noticed in the video there when I was looking at the 2-spot carpet moth that I used a little clip-on lens. It was this one here. This one here is usually always attached to my hat that I wear, my survey hat. I've also got this one here, which is slightly more fiddly than this one. And I'll explain the difference between the two. This one here I picked up online for something silly like £3 including postage and packing, or £3 something postage and packing. Came with this I can't remember, I think it's a x8 lens on it, or 10x10, plus a wide angle and also a fisheye lens. Can't tell you what they are like because I never use them, but this one here, you get what you pay for. So this one I've actually had to put a wee bit of glue in here. The lens fell out, so I've had to glue it in. I would say if you order a cheap one like that, just make sure that this ring here is in tight, and if not, just put a dab of super glue or something just to hold it in place. This one here was slightly more expensive. This macro lens here is a x12, and this one here, I'm trying to remember, you add it on and it becomes x24. So, how do you put them on? Well, this here is a field voile tooth, which you can't see. So, if I go in, you can't really see very well. And I think I need some more light. I'm just going to put a wee bit of light on here. So, you just clip it on. This is really difficult because yes, that's better. Right, so you can see here, and it gets quite clear. I mean, you're not really going to want to use it for professional photos, but it's really good for getting in close-ups. So this one's dead easy, just clip on. This one that is interchangeable. It came with a couple of these clip-on bits here, so you can actually have more than one. So you can have your wide angle on as well, ready to clip on. So it just clips on there like that and goes in and takes another photo, and then you just screw on x24. Now with the x24 you have to get right down to it, so it can be quite awkward. Sometimes you've really got to get in there to get some light on it if there's not enough light around. But that's it. So they're quite easy to use. I've just had a wee bit of difficulty because I'm actually got a camera in front of me, using the camera that's there, that I'm actually using. It's been a bit strange, but really good. And you can see that if I actually went that close, I can't focus in here. I have to actually come out to here to focus. So really good. I find them really useful for taking photos of invertebrates close up, especially ones where it can just be actually hairs on their legs that are actually the tell you which species it is. So that they're actually really useful. This one here, as I say, is always clipped to my my hat. Here's the photos that were taken during the video. The first one is from the clip-on one that I normally keep in my hat, and the next one is from the x12, and finally the one from the x24, although I've got to admit I actually very rarely use x24 unless it's something that's very, very small and I need to identify it, to take it to that size to get the identifying features. So I hope you've enjoyed this little session on the clip-on lenses for mobile phones. I'd certainly say if you are going to get one, order one that clips on like this, so that you can clip it onto a strap or your hat or something like that. This one is really good, but it doesn't easily clip on to things the way this one does. You can get ones that are dearer than this that can still clip on with better lenses that won't fall out, I assume. So yes, so if you want to do it, have a look at them. I would say it's worth the investment just to be able to see closer to what it is you're actually taking photos of. I've managed to take photos of dragonflies and been able to see their eyes and see all the individual lenses that make up their eyes. So that's my wildlife year over for another week. That's week 9 out the way. Just a reminder about both my online workshop that I've got on Eventbrite, but also the crowdfunder that I've got going to fund community projects to buy quite a few hedgehog tunnels and also trail cams for the community project to record wildlife. So hope you've enjoyed this video. As always, comments below the video or on any of the social media, and feel free to get in touch with direct messages if you want to as well. Okay, take care. See you all for week 10 into double figures of my wildlife year.